I think if you think about this trend of more protectionist policies and therefore maybe also keeping some exports away from the US that come from Europe, because he's talking about tariffs versus Europe as well, that means less opportunities for Europe to export. So you have to look for other destinations. So Europe is more dependent maybe on Asia as a receiving country, China. And on the other hand, China is also more reliant on Europe because, you know, everybody will look for new trading partners when the US is getting a bit more, you know, the walls are getting higher around the country. So it's less room for more exports, but I think if you have lower economic growth, it will be a difficult scenario for Europe. And meaning that the interest rate levels will be higher in the US and maybe lower in Europe, it means that capital will also fly or will go towards the dollar because the dollar is then more attractive. And therefore maybe, you know, getting some more money from other investors as well. So that makes it difficult for Europe, especially when you consider that the US has a plan under Trump, grow the American economy. China and Asia has a plan. They want to be, you know, the leader in certain technologies. They want to be the leader in electric vehicles around the world. So it seems that only Europe doesn't really have a plan, and it's getting, you know, split up into national interests in some ways. So it's much more difficult when Europe is not a coherent building.
And what could be the plan for Europe?
There is no real plan for Europe. That's the sad part of it. Tech, for example, which is the ultimate innovation driver, it's almost everything's being done in the US. We've got just one or two tech companies in Europe, ASML and SAP. So those are the two only ones. They are good ones, but it's not really enough. It's not broad. So I don't know, actually, to be honest with you. It depends a lot on the elections in Germany next year, because that could provide some starters. If we had a coalition, a new government that would recognize what we have to do, invest a lot of money, try to catch up with the rest of the world, invest in infrastructure, into the digitization. If that was coming out of the elections in Germany, it could be a Kickstarter, but I'm not really sure it will happen because it seems politically Europe is more hesitant, and it's not a driver of policy, it's more a receiver of policy and looking where it fits into the global picture. But as long as we don't talk to each other more and try to get some more EU national interests rather than national interests, I'm afraid we're going to lose out between the two big global frontiers.
So there is no opportunities in Europe?
Well, there is, because Europe, to be honest, Europe is cheap, and Europe is, but that has a reason. It's cheap for a reason, because it seems like the growth is not here. But if you look at Europe in more detail, you realize that the picture has turned around. A few years ago, it was Germany and France were the big drivers of the European economy, and they were doing quite well. And now they've fallen back quite substantially. And interestingly enough, the southern countries like Spain and Portugal and Greece, they've really done their job, and they grow now much better than they were in the past. They've done their homework, it seems, and it seems like Germany, who was praying, do your homework, do your homework, do your homework, they were not doing their homework by themselves. So, and that means that Germany has to catch up now. It's a bit bad when you always point the finger, but you never reflect and look in the mirror what you can do. So hopefully it's a wake-up call now, and I think the Trump election is a wake-up call, because you can comment in every way you want about the Trump election, but it's a fact and it's there, and you have to react accordingly. You have to forge a plan, and for the time being, it doesn't seem like it's happening. But there are opportunities. So let's say, you know, the election goes in a certain way. You find a new coalition that is recognizing the need for investments and that can bring up new motivation and new, let's say, money flows to infrastructure and so on. If that was about to happen, then, you know, you would improve consumer sentiment. Consumers have saved a lot of money now because they can spend money. So if consumer confidence is increasing and people seem to form a plan, then I think growth could come back. The drivers of the European economies in Germany, for example, have been, of course, the automotive industry and have been the industrial industry. And they've been exemplary industries for the last 20, 30 years or so. But automotive is running out of competitive advantages. It looks like, electric vehicles are dominated by China. They are the world #1 manufacturer now. And let's say the desire to have a German engine or a German, gearbox or something like that, that is getting less and less important for drivers. It's the new car that is being considered now, and Germany is losing a competitive edge. And you see that some of the work, the jobs are now being at risk, and they relieve workers and so on. And if Trump is successful in inviting companies to produce in the US, and by the way, it's not an unattractive proposal, because he says once you export from Germany, you're getting high tariffs and you won't sell a lot of cars. But if you produce in the US, you get low energy costs, you get a huge job market, you've got low taxes. So come here, produce in the US. It's an attractive opportunity, and I wouldn't blame anyone to do that. So that means the US is let's say absorbing and inviting more and more of the economic power from others, and that's a relative advantage. And so Germany and Europe has to think about what to be doing to at least get some competitive edge again to Europe.
Hopefully we will find it.
Yes, I hope so too. But as I said, optimism is justified. I think it doesn't look very good now, but there could be some events, as I said, with the election and everything, that could lead to more initiatives, for the European continent. Because otherwise, we're really going to be losing out against the other two big blocs, the US and China.